Welcome back. In this part 1, we look at man, the individual, as told to us by God. God tells us that in the beginning He created heaven and earth, and they were one, and then they were separated. And earth was created for man, in anticipation of man living here. So from the very outset, we are told that the creation of earth was done with the understanding that this was going to be our home. Earth is not a prison, it's not a place for delinquents, it's our home. In anticipation of us living here, we find that everything that has been made for us. And we find clues in this in the way certain foodstuffs have been created. And I present this in the earlier series. For example, the carrot looks so similar to the eye, and it is also of benefit to the eye. And in the same way, the ovary and the olive, the testes and the figs, when man looks at these things, he finds that they resemble parts of the body, and they are also useful for that part of his body. And in this way we are shown that earth was created for man. God then got from earth, He sourced from earth clay with which He fashioned the body of the first man. All the souls were already created at this time. In creating this body, in creating it in heaven, we are led to know that the first human lived in heaven, not in a spirit form, but in a physical form, with flesh and blood, because this body was created in heaven, and the first human lived there in this form. We are told that God educated man. He told him the names of things. And in this we learn that God gave man the knowledge of language while he was in heaven. This is not something that developed on earth. It is an inherent gift for us. God then asked the jinn and the angels to assemble. These are the three of the creations of God that we are informed about. Man made from clay, angels made from light, and jinn made from fire. Like humans, jinn have free will. They can do as they please. Angels have no free will. They obey all God's instructions without any question. In this assembly, God asked the angels and the jinns the names of the things, and they did not know the answers. He then asked man, and man produced the answers. And God asked the angels and the jinn to prostrate before man, acknowledging that man is superior to them. So in this we learn that man is superior to the angels and the jinn. And we learn the criteria which makes us superior to them. That criteria is not our physical body, it's not our strength, it's not how handsome we are. This criterion is the knowledge that God gives us. This is the criterion that makes us superior to the angels and the jinn. Take that away, and we are no different from any other animal. The angels and the jinns submitted except for one. This jinn was a very high jinn, a person with great authority and great responsibility, but nonetheless a creation of God, one who cannot act independently of God. This jinn refused to bow down. It was his pride and his arrogance that distinguished him from the others. And before his punishment could be proclaimed, he pleaded to God. He asked for reprieve. He asked for his punishment to be delayed until the last day. And God listened to him. God accepted his plea. He granted him his request. And in this we learn the true relationship between this jinn and God, of God's superiority and his inferiority. There is no question of challenge. There is no question of competition with God. This jinn knows the secret of man's superiority. When his wish was granted, he promised that he will make man submit to him. And in this we learn from the outset that he is our professed enemy. And he is also aware of what distinguishes us. And we can assume from this, or we can gather from this, that in order to get us to submit to him, he is going to have to separate us from the knowledge that God has given us, because that is the only way he can become superior to us. And all of this is presented to us and given to us when God gives us the information of how we came about. Man was created with free will. And free will means the ability to think and act independently. Free will is useless and meaningless and irrelevant unless there are decisions and choices that a man has to take. If there are no decisions to make, if there are no choices that we are faced with, then free will becomes irrelevant. Because if we could do everything, then there is no choice. Free will becomes irrelevant. And even in heaven, God told man that he can live there freely, but he may not consume the fruit of a particular tree. And so he had the opportunity now of exercising his free will, whether to follow God's guidance or not. And as man lived in paradise, he observed other creatures with their partners. And so we learn that in paradise there are other living creatures besides man, and besides angels, and besides jinn. And he wanted a companion. And so he asked God for a companion. And in this we learn that our companion was not imposed upon us. It was something that came out of a request from man to God. And God anticipated this. God knew this was coming. Nothing comes as a surprise to God. And so when that request came, that request was granted, and God created a partner for man. How did God create this partner? He did not go back to earth and source the clay and create a partner for man. He created this partner from tissue extracted from his rib. It was tissue taken from man himself. This was, in effect, a form of genetic engineering. And I'm sure today, if the genetic engineers were to look for a suitable source of tissue for human studies, the rib will prove to be a very valuable source. So God created his partner from man. And this tells us the true relationship between man and his partner. The partner is from man. It is almost as if man is the parent of his partner, who is called woman. It also tells us the true relationship between man and his partner. It is a relationship of caring, of protectiveness, of love and affection. And when this partner was created from man, there was a separation of some of the functions and abilities of man. For example, his ability to bear children was taken and placed in the partner, so that man and his partner are separate, they are different, but together they form a whole. Together we are one. And in this we learn that the true partner of man is woman. Not another man, not two women. It's man and woman. And God is teaching us this right from the outset. Man and woman live together happily in paradise. But the jinn, who had promised to make man submit to him, influenced woman, influenced man, that the tree that you were asked not to consume from is a tree of knowledge. And if you consume from that tree, you will be as knowledgeable as God. And God wants to prevent you becoming as knowledgeable as him. And man and woman fell for it. They ate of the tree. And they indeed became aware of certain things. And in this we learn certain things also. That when we are taken away from God, it will be done by deception. And in this deception there will be truth. Because that tree was a tree of knowledge, but not in the way that this jinn had explained it. The truth is presented as the bait, and the lie is the hook on the inside. We fall for the truth because we know it is the truth, and we take the falsehood thinking it must be true also. And this is the way in which, this is the blueprint of the way this jinn works to bring man down, to make himself superior.